You're live.
We're live. Oh my God, how exciting. This is a new experience for me. We are live here, coming to you live from the London Buddhist Centre Shrine Room. Very warm welcome to anybody who's already here. Apparently, there's 21, that's phenomenal. There was one person at 10 to, which must be my mum. So hello, mum. That's my most loyal fan and supporter. So very warm welcome to mum, if that's indeed her. But yes, my name is Amalayodhin. I'll repeat that again as we go. But what we're just going to do is wait around now for a little while for people to join us. So very warm welcome to the people that are here.
We've got Rafi tuning in.
Hi, Raf. How's it going? I hope Raf's well. Just down the road as well. We finished up. Myself and Raf used to be in a Mitra study group together, and we just finished up that last week. So very good to see Raf here. Yeah. So how many people do we have? Is it ticking up?
Yeah, it's ticking up. We've got Louise Thomas.
Oh, hi, Louise. How's it going? I think that's Louise at Karna. If that's the right person. If I've got you wrong, Louise, apologies, but I think it's Louise at Karna. Karna's doing some fantastic work at the moment. Actually, they're responding to the COVID situation in India, which is obviously very, very serious. India and Nepal. So good luck to Louise as she's doing that work. Very worthwhile work.
Yeah, they're coming in now. Subhadramati.
Subhadramati, very warm welcome, very warm welcome. Very warm welcome to Sajana as well. Yeah. So we're here on, it's now Wednesday evening. If we're still riding the high of the ordination, Sthiramanas's ordination on Sunday. We had that here at the centre. I think it was the first live public ordination we've done here at the centre, so that went very well. So we're still on a high here from that. If people haven't seen that, I'd really encourage everybody to go back and check out the video. It's on the LBC feed. It's really worthwhile watching. Very inspiring moment for us here at the centre, and it really gave us a lift as well. So yeah.
People from Ipswich, and I think the furthest step was North Wales.
Hello to North Wales and Ipswich as well. Yeah. Hello, particularly if there's international folks coming in. We've had a few people from Australia, California coming in the last few weeks, so hopefully we'll get some of them tonight. Nice to have an international feel at the class.
Wow, greetings from South Africa.
South Africa, fantastic, yeah. Who's at South Africa? I wonder if they could say in the comments.
Sam Smirring.
Hi, Sam. Good to have you here from all the way from South Africa. So yes, very 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 warm welcome to everybody. We're going to start in probably about 2 or 3 minutes, I'd say. I've specially ironed my shirt for the occasion. People were demanding a strong shirt game from me today, so I've ironed my shirt just for the occasion. So we're definitely on doing well here at the centre. We've got a couple of guys here behind the camera with us, so people will know if they've been tuning in already that what we do is we've been organising some of these live feeds through some of the communities that live at the centre. We have 3 communities around the centre. We have 2 men's communities upstairs and a women's community above the larder. And they've been doing all the tech and the support for these particular live classes, and they've been absolutely fantastic. We've had Matt Grenz, who's behind the camera here first. Why don't you come around and say hello, Matt? I'm very, very lucky to live with Matt. From Matt. And then Hippolyte, our Frenchman Hippolyte. He's doing some of the tech stuff as well. So there's Hippolyte. So I'm very lucky to live with these 2 very fine men. So they're joined today to help out.
90 people.
90 people, fantastic. Oh, welcome to all of you. Any more destinations in the comment box?
Marland.
Fantastic. Okay, well we'll get going in about another minute or so. And then I'm going to say a little bit more about what we're talking about this evening.
Nils says hi to me. Hi, Nils.
So yeah, fantastic to have everybody with us. I mean, I've been talking to people on the phone the last couple of weeks. I'm also a fundraiser here at the LBC, and I've been talking to our donors, and there's been some of you out there tonight, so thank you very, very much for anybody that's been giving anything over the last little while. It's deeply appreciated, and I've been talking to people, and they've just been so grateful for these online feeds. They've been saying how much they've relied on it to sort of stay connected in with the centre, have a sense of Sangha, have a sense of community, and I think that's what's been really, really important to us here at the centre during this particular crisis. It's that actually we are still reaching out to people, and we are still creating a community. We're still reaching out with that vision of friendship, that vision of community in the Dharma in this time. And I think, God, it's really, really needed. So it's been so good to be able to do this. It's such a privilege to be able to do this, and really, really nice to have people joining us as well. It's been great. Okay, so I think we're live. We've hit the 7 o'clock mark. So a very, very warm welcome to everybody who's just tuned in. My name is Amalayodhin, and this evening I'll be leading the class. We'll be doing a meditation class. Just to say, at the end of the evening, don't go anywhere or don't go too far, because it's quite a special evening this evening. It's not just going to be a meditation class. We are also going to have a puja live with Maitri Bandhu. So that's a first time ever. We're going to try and make history here tonight at the class. We're going to have a full moon puja. So Maitri Bandhu is going to lead us in that. So that will kick off at around 7:15 or so. So it gives you a bit of time, or sorry, 8:15, apologies. So it gives you a little bit of time. The class here will end at 8 o'clock. A little bit of time to grab a cup of tea or whatever it is that you need, and then it'll start here about 8:15, and it'll go on for around a half an hour or so. So puja is ritual. It's Sanskrit for ritual. So if you haven't done one of those before, come back and you can give it a go as well. So yes, as I say, my name's Amalayodhin. Very, very warm welcome to the London Buddhist Centre live feed. Fantastic to have so many of you here, really is. So yeah, I'll say a little bit about what I'm going to talk about over the next hour or so. I'm going to speak for about 20 minutes or so, and then we're going to have about 20-minute meditation, and then we'll have some time for questions, and then we'll finish up with a brief sit as well. So yeah, it's been slightly unusual for me this time, because I was on solitary when all of this started to happen. Now, I went into solitary, and the world, or at least my world, was still relatively normal. I should say a solitary retreat is when you go off by yourself and you don't have any contact with the outside world, no phones, no internet, no news, and you just completely shut off any contact for 2 weeks was my particular time frame on this occasion. But so I went into solitary not knowing what was happening, and came out of solitary, and the whole world had changed, which was quite a sort of surreal experience. It was the sort of thing of sci-fi movies, really. So it was very, very unusual, but I've had time to get used to it now, and I've been very grateful, like many of you here, I would imagine, for the practice I've been able to get under my belt so far, which has prepared me well, I think, for, or as well I could possibly wish for the current situation. But one thing I was thinking about very much when I was on solitary was that, I was looking at this theme of gripping, and I was particularly looking at it within my meditation practice. Now, in a time of crisis, I think what we tend to do as individuals and as a society is we tend to grip. A crisis, of course, is anxiety invoking. It very much comes entwined with fear and uncertainty. And when we have uncertainty, we have anxiety, don't we? We don't know what's happening. And as human beings, we like to know what's happening. Too much uncertainty is bad for us. We don't like it. And when we tend to get anxiety, I know I tend to at least want to grip. I want to control. I want to control my own experience, but I want to control my experience outside me as well, which of course we know is impossible, isn't it? When we try to control what's happening around us, well, I'm afraid the world doesn't often, and individuals around us don't want to be controlled in that way. And of course, that's just not the nature of reality, is it? We can't control reality in that way. So we can do this in meditation as well. I think we can look to control in meditation. We can look to grip in meditation. And I think what this feels like is, well, let's think, where am I talking about? Where do we tend to grip in meditation? Well, where I can notice, for example, where I'm starting to grip in my meditation is it might be, for example, towards the end. I don't know if other people get this as well, say, where it might come up to, we're sitting for 40 minutes and it might come up to the 30-minute mark or so. And all of a sudden, we're just starting to grip the end of the practice. It almost feels like that if the end in the time frame was sort of attached to a hook, we could kind of like pull it towards us. And I notice myself doing that quite a bit, but it's not the only way that I can grip in meditation. I say, for example, if I'm looking to achieve a certain mental state, like say in the metta bhavana, I'm looking to develop more a state or grab at more at a state of love, of friendliness, of metta. I can almost want to try and hold it, like if I could just sort of grab the metta and attach it to my experience. And of course, I know from experience that isn't possible as well. Or it might also be, for example, that I'm trying to hold off an experience that I don't particularly want to have. So say, for example, at the moment, I mean, people might be starting to find now that the lockdown is starting to have some bite. We've been saying it in our community for the last 2 or 3 days that we are all over COVID now. We're over the lockdown. If somebody could just say to the relevant authorities that we're done with it, and we could all wrap up, but of course that's not going to happen. So I think what's happening at the moment is that the time frame and the novelty of the situation has worn off, and the intensity of it is starting to be felt. And with intensity often comes experiences that we don't necessarily want to have. We might be feeling anxiety. We might be feeling ill will, for example. All of those experiences are quite natural in situations of intensity. We go to our habitual mental states, or often our habitual negative mental states. And so we can look to push them away, push them away from our experience. I don't want to be anxious. I don't want to be experiencing anger. So I'll look to push it out of my experience. And of course, the more we try to push a mental state that we don't want to have out of our experience, the more it'll force itself on us. It's ironically, it doesn't work. Yeah, the more that we try to push it away, the more that it'll just make itself insisted that it's felt. So those are some of the ways that we can grip in meditation, and also our experience more generally as well. Now, I was trying to think, actually, just coming up to the class, how is it we can know when we're gripping in our experience or in our meditation? I think one of the ways that we can do this is, or that we can feel this sort of gripping is, it almost feels like our psyche is sort of contracted, or suddenly very much kind of condensed into a smaller space. And that feels painful, doesn't it? It's like you take something, our mind, which is sort of infinite in potential, and the Buddha's enlightened mind, for example, is totally infinite, cannot be grasped in terms of space or time at all. But when we're feeling anxiety, for example, and we're gripping, what tends to happen is that our mind, which is infinite in potential, tends to get squeezed in on itself, yeah? And that feels uncomfortable. We can sort of feel that we're kind of crammed in. Conversely, if we're in a positive state of mind, our minds are expanded, aren't they? And with that expansion, there's a lessening of gripping. It's like we've just allowed our hold on reality just to relax a little bit. And with that, our psyche tends to kind of move out, expand out. So when we're gripping at an experience that we can't will in meditation, when we're gripping at something that we want to happen but isn't happening, our psyche will tend to contract like that. It'll just tend to shrink in. Now, the other way that we can spot this in our meditation is we'll notice gripping in the body. Yeah, so when we grip in our mind, we'll have a tendency to grip somewhere in the body. So very, very good when we're meditating to make sure that our awareness never drifts too far away from the body. Yeah? When we're meditating, we meditate with the body. The body comes into the meditation. And that's particularly true when we're looking at expanding that consciousness and lessening gripping. What we tend to do is when we grip in our psyche, we grip in the body. Now, there's some very common places that we do that. We can often do that just around the large muscles of the legs here. We can feel, say, for example, those tighten and hold. We can do that, say, for example, around the gut. We might be holding our gut in, for example. We might have our shoulders up by our ears. I know I can do this quite a lot. I can kind of walk around like that. Our hands might be tense. Our facial muscles might be tense. We might be kind of grasping or holding our jaw here, holding our eyes, for example. So when we first sit to meditate, and throughout the meditation, we're looking to smooth out any of that gripping through the body. Yeah, we do it so habitually that often we don't even know that we're doing it. It's very, very unconscious and very, very habitual. So as we bring more awareness to the body, we might start to notice more and more tension and more gripping. And the way just to ease that will just be to relax the body as much as possible. You know, almost you can just imagine the area letting go. And with that will be a reduction in the gripping of our mind as well. So if we can ease the gripping in our body, the gripping in our psyche will also just relax as well. And then, of course, that will have a cyclic effect on gripping in our body. And before we know it, we're into more expanded states. So, I mean, it's very, very interesting because one of the things that we do in meditation is we look to hold off those mental states with that gripping. And it's been, I've been so impressed with parents at the moment. I have to say, it's not a tough thing. It's not an easy thing being a parent at the best of times, I would say. But I would imagine at the moment, parents are very, they're in there with their kids. The kids don't necessarily understand what's going on. They're cooped up. They're anxious like everybody else. They want to see their friends. They want to go out and play. And of course, parents are having to sort of deal with that. Yeah, they're starting to having to manage it. And it's very, very interesting walking around Victoria Park here, for example. The park's closed, but walking around with Parma Bandhu, who lives with me the other day, and we were talking about how parents must have to learn how to sort of manage the conundrum now that is their children. Yeah, how do we get them to sort of, how do we work out this Rubik's cube of getting our kids to do the things that are good for them, getting them out, say, at the door, getting them back, getting them to behave, all of those things. And of course, it takes a bit of wiliness, doesn't it? It takes some cunning to get kids to behave. It's not like that they can just be barked at, kids. They can't be commanded. That won't work most of the time. It'll work sometimes, but of course, most of the time it won't work. So, talking to my friends who are parents, it's been very interesting to hear them talk about how sort of clever you have to get in negotiating, bargaining, sometimes even tricking, sometimes sort of being diplomatic, being all the sort of clever ways of how to get kids to do what we need them to do, what parents need them to do. And I think our negative mental states, or just our mental states, or our moods in general, are a bit like this actually. We can't command them to do something. We can't tell them. We can't grip them into place. We can't push away, for example, an experience that we don't want to have. And we can't hold on to one that we just want to have. What we need to do is get a bit more like, well, parents with their children. We need to learn how it is our moods operate, what motivates them, what moves them, what inspires them, what do we need to do to negotiate with them. And I think that's very, very important in these times of intensity. It's like we need to learn how to work with our negative mental states and our positive mental states as well, in a way that would be a bit like a parent sort of working with their child. So we can't just grip to an experience that we want. We have to learn how to be smart with our mental states and almost relate to them like an individual aspect of our psyche that we need to sort of coax into existence. Now, that will be different for each of us, won't it? Sometimes our mental states respond to different things, and that's a very individual thing. But the first thing that we need to do in learning how to do that, to negotiate with our mental states, will of course will be to learn how to lessening that gripping, relaxing into what's there, being much more receptive to what's there, and then learning that sort of dance, that negotiation, that diplomacy with our mental states that looks to sort of just knock them that bit much more on board and develop and cultivate the sort of positive states of mind that those expanded states of mind that we're looking to develop. So what I'm going to do is lead us through a meditation now. So do join in at home. And we're going to concentrate very, very much on lessening that gripping and just seeing as we lessen that gripping in the psyche, which is very much lessening a gripping on outcomes, lessening on a gripping on our experience needing to be a certain way, lessening a gripping on the end of the meditation, lessening all that gripping and just seeing, can we notice an expansion then in our mental states, and noticing if our psyche can expand just out into a broader sense, and then noticing as well what's positive in our awareness, what's positive in our experience, and then as we notice that, just seeing, does that grow and expand more as well. So we're going to look to, and very much within that, looking to relax any gripping that's in the body. So I'll talk us through that, and then if you have any questions after the meditation, we're going to take those. So if you have any questions, you can remember them, and then we're going to take questions after that, and we'll do that for a little bit. So let's set up for a meditation now. So very, very good, and one very important thing that we do to lessen that gripping in meditation is to have a good posture. So that means just looking to be as comfortable as we possibly can. So that might mean you might need some more cushions to set yourself up on. It might mean that you just need a little bit more height. It might mean that you need a support for your hands so that your shoulders are supported and that they're open. And that way you should be as comfortable as we can possibly get. So we're just going to start off now and closing our eyes. And the first thing we can do is just bring our awareness down to the connection with the floor. So noticing the stability of the floor and the cushion or the chair. And just allowing our minds to slow down. And we can bring our awareness into the large muscles of the legs. So this is where we can notice gripping. We can habitually hold the large muscles of the legs. So just relaxing any tension that we have there, relaxing any holding. And then bringing our awareness up into the gut. And again, just relaxing any tension in the gut. So we can notice here the gut moving in, and the gut moving with the breath. And often the gut holds lots of little emotional sensation. So if we're anxious, we can feel it in the gut, or if we're excited, we can feel it in the gut. So just noticing any emotional sensation that's there. And bringing our awareness up into the chest and the heart area. Again, we can notice the movement of the breath in and out of the chest. course, sometimes the mind will wander. So don't worry. That's what minds do. Just bringing it gradually back to the experience of the body. And again, here we might notice any emotional sensation around the chest and the heart area. We're just turning towards whatever's there. So letting go of holding on any outcome. Letting go of any wish for the meditation to be a particular way. Just opening to what's there. We can't demand our experience be a particular way, but we can work with what's there. And allowing the shoulders to relax down from the ears. Noticing any tension around the neck. And again, we can just imagine the area relaxing. That will help in just reduce any gripping that we're doing there. And bringing our awareness down into the hands. And the hands can contain lots of little sensation. Lots of energy. So just noticing what happens when you rest your awareness on that energy. And then bringing your awareness up to the face. So we often need to hold our face in a particular way during the day. So no need for that now. You can just relax all the muscles of the face. Relaxing the jaw. the eyes. We can just bring the whole body into the meditation now. Aware of the body as an integrated whole. And we can just ask ourselves, where are we holding? So that might be holding somewhere in the body. We might be holding somewhere in the mind as well. So holding onto a particular outcome. Or holding or gripping a particular mental state away that we don't want to have. Or maybe we're gripping the end of the meditation. Just seeing if we can relax that holding. And noticing as we relax the holding, how does our psyche expand? So noticing any increased sense of spaciousness. And we can notice the pleasure of that spaciousness. When we're gripping, there's a contraction of the psyche, contraction of the mind, and that will cause discomfort, both discomfort in the mind and in the body. We can look for that discomfort. See, can we let go of gripping? And then notice the pleasure of the expansion of the mind when we let go of gripping. And of course, we cannot command our mind to not grip. Our mind won't be commanded like that. We can see, can we get into some dialogue with the mind, just inviting the mind to relax. Imagining the mind relaxing, the body relaxing. And then we can just relax any effort we're making in the meditation. So just sitting still for a moment. And when you're ready, opening your eyes and bringing the meditation to a close. Okay, good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take some questions from you at home. So do get your questions into the comment box there, and Hippolyte will read them out to me. And I'll do my very, very best to answer them. Hopefully I can. And just as you're writing your questions, what I'll say is we can't, just as I mentioned in the meditation there, we can't command our minds to just stop gripping like that. That's not, I'm afraid, how our mind works. We have to be a bit like the parent. We have to learn how the mind lets go. We have to learn how to relax that holding that we do in our psyche. We've been doing it all our lives. I've been doing it all my life. And I wish I could just let go of that gripping. It can be deeply painful. But of course we can't do that. So we have to be patient with ourselves, and we have to allow the time and the patience and the skill to develop of allowing our mind to relax, our psyche to relax. And that does take some training. It really is an art form. So don't get impatient with the fact that our mind seems constricted, our body seems constricted. It's years and decades of practice, but we can start to do something very, very soon. You can start to develop very quick changes in this as we start to practice, so do stick with it. So I'll take some questions. We do have some questions.
Yeah, so just to say there's 140 people watching.
Fantastic. Very, very warm welcome to all 140.
And we can start with the first question from Marco, who's saying that his tendency in meditation is to grab the first thought that comes to mind, the first memory, and just examine it. And he's wondering whether that's another type of grasping.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Marco. Yeah, really, really good question. So Marco was asking if when he starts to meditate that he grabs the first memory that comes to him and he starts to turn it over. And he was wondering if that's a type of grasping. I think it is, Marco, as well. It's very, very well spotted. I think that's what we can do sometimes is we can get a grasping for the past, can't we? We can have a very unhealthy, nostalgic yearning for something that is past. I know I did this for years before I started to spot it. And of course, particularly if it's a pleasurable memory that we're sort of grabbing onto, it's so funny how the mind works, isn't it? It actually feels like when I'm doing that, I feel like I could literally transport myself back into the past and relive that experience. But of course I can't do that. So when we're doing that, we have to remind ourselves, of course we can't live in the past. It's not possible. And then we can just let go of that gripping. And of course, the reality is some of the things that we grip onto, it's painful to let them go, isn't it? Initially, it's painful to let them go. But we have to trust actually that it's in the long run, it's more painful to hold them. It's more painful to hold on to something that isn't possible than to let it go and allow something new to come through. So very, very good question, Marco. Yeah, and I hope I've answered it. Yeah.
So Sujana is asking, he's saying that they're having difficulty with noise in meditation, especially dogs barking throughout the day. So any advice for grasping with noise? Yeah.
What was the name again?
Sujana.
Sajana. Hi, Sajana. Yeah, another fruitful area for practice, isn't it? Working with noise in meditation. Of course, London is usually a very, very loud city. It's become quieter in the last 2 weeks, of course, but there will be noise, won't there? Sometimes, well, some of you might be in isolation with loud neighbours, with loud kids, with a loud dog, whatever it might be, with traffic outside. And of course, so then you're going to be working with noises in your meditation, aren't you? And it's very interesting with noise when you start to notice noise, and it's distracting, isn't it? What we look to do is we look to push the noise out of the meditation. We want to pretend like the noise isn't there, or almost like we can kind of like turn our back on it and it will go away. But of course, noise is there, isn't it? We can't control noise around us in a busy city like London. So what we have to do with noise, I think, is, again, when we relax gripping around noise, what we do is we allow it into the meditation. So we allow the noise to be in the meditation with us, and we meditate with the noise. Now, of course, what happens when the noise is there and we first allow it in the meditation, it's like we're tight to the noise, isn't it? We're like, oh God, what is the neighbor doing again? Or, oh my God, playing that terrible music all the time, or whatever it might be. Maybe they're learning to play the drums or something, who knows? And so we'll be tight to it. But of course, then we just need to learn how to relax into the noise being there and make it part of the meditation. And then sometimes you can just notice that that transforms the experience of the noise to something that really doesn't bother us very much. So I hope that answers your question, Sajana. Yeah, very good question. Yeah.
Great. Now we get Annette saying that she sometimes feels overwhelmed with emotions during meditation, wondering whether you had any advice.
Annette was asking, when she starts to meditate, she often feels overwhelmed with emotions. I don't think that's a particularly bad way to be honest, Annette. I mean, I think, a lot of the time we need to come more into connection with our emotions, and that doesn't mean allowing emotions to run our life. It doesn't mean getting sort of navel-gazy about our emotions, or our emotions becoming needlessly important to us. but very, very important that we are in contact with our emotions, particularly in meditation. If we're not in contact with our emotions when we're meditating, our emotions will tend to drag us off into distraction. So if our emotions aren't in the meditation, for example, they'll start demanding our attention elsewhere. They'll fly off, if you know what I mean, and they'll bring your mind with them. So I think it's very, very good to notice the emotions in meditation, and it might feel overwhelming at first, but that's probably because we have a relatively small container in which to contain them in, if you know what I mean. Our psyches aren't as big or aren't up to the task of containing all our emotions sometimes. So our emotions spill out here and there, and of course then they bring our mind with them, don't they? And we get distracted in meditation and then frustrated in meditation. So do keep the emotions in the meditation, and though it feels overwhelming potentially at first, I think probably what you'll notice is that as you practice, your psyche starts to get bigger. And when your psyche gets bigger, it can allow more emotion in, and you can sit with more emotion in your practice. And so it's not, I don't think that's a particularly bad starting point. So yeah, very good question there. Yeah.
We've got Tam asking about balance in meditation. He says, I found I had to maintain some grip of the practice not to fall asleep. So he's wondering whether there was a balance to be struck there. Right.
So Tam was asking about holding, gripping in meditation if, particularly, and is there a chance that we'll fall asleep if we're not gripping or we're not holding in that way? Yeah, it's interesting, Tam, isn't it? Because sometimes the way that a deepening of concentration is described in meditation is a relaxed calm, or sorry, a relaxed energy. And so you've got both of those things in a deepened mental state. You have both relaxation and you have energy at the same time. Now, sometimes we're really tired, aren't we? Sometimes if we have relaxation, we're going to fall asleep. And the reality is that we might just need to have a little sleep. If we're knackered, and of course we might be, we lead busy lives. Even at the moment, we lead busy lives. And if sometimes just when we relax, we just start to nod off. And I think sometimes we're just going to have to sit with that a little bit, Tam, and then as we relax a little bit more, what sometimes happens then is that you'll get more energy start to come through. So what you can try is, if you are falling asleep, well, you might just want to nod off for maybe 5 minutes and see how that feels. If you've nodded off and then you come back around, there might be a little bit more energy there, a little bit more relaxation. But don't try and hold off or push off the tiredness, I'd say, because then again, you're just going to be constricted and tight. What you want to do is, well, maybe if you're tired, you just need to be tired for a little bit, and then the meditative energies will just flow a little bit better once you've relaxed a bit more. Yeah.
So at the other end of the spectrum, we have Aaron, who's asking, how do you manage the urge to get up and do something, especially whilst at home?
Yes, yeah, that's right, yeah. Well, that's I know that particular type of gripping very well, Aaron. And I think that sort of gripping is, again, it's a bit like the gripping that I was talking about, gripping at the end of gripping for the end of the meditation. And, I've been meditating nearly 10 years now, and still when it gets to the last 10 minutes of my meditation, I'll start grabbing towards the end of it. I'll start thinking about what I'm going to do next. I'll thinking about the things that I need to do, I want to do, and I'm going to start making life needlessly uncomfortable for myself by grabbing at the end of the meditation. What you can notice here, I think, particularly where that particular variety of grasping holds itself in the body. You might notice, for example, when I'm grasping at the end of the meditation, it's almost like my body is about to get, it's sort of like, it's absolutely just sort of screaming at the gates to sort of be allowed to get up and go. So what you can do is you can just notice that sort of lift, that urge in the body to get up, and you can just, as you notice it, just help it to relax again. Just allow it to sort of ease again, remind yourself that, this is the experience that you're having now. We're meditating now, and there's no need to finish it early. So just relaxing the body again, but noticing where the body wants to get up, and then just relaxing that ease. And again, once you relax the body, that the mind will often follow like that. So yeah, very good question, Aaron. Yeah, thank you.
So Greta, I've noticed that during the meditation you asked us to relax our mind. And she's wondering if there's any techniques to relax the mind you can share with us. What is it in meditation? What can do to let the mind relax?
Yeah. Greta was saying, so were there any techniques in particular to allow the mind to relax in meditation? I think particularly looking for tension in the body, Greta, and then relaxing tension in the body, relaxing holding in the body. That we know that the mind and body are very much connected, aren't they? The way that we hold our bodies has an effect on our mind, and the way that our minds are has an effect on our body. So we can start to break that loop and improve that loop, get more creative with that sort of dynamic by just relaxing the body in meditation as much as we possibly can. And I think then the mind starts to follow. Yeah. So once we find tension in the body, there'll be tension in the mind. And if we can relax that tension in the body, we'll notice the relaxing of the tension in the mind. But the other thing as well, I think is really, really important in meditation is to notice the small marginal effects that happen when we relax the body and when we relax the mind. It's like I was saying, the psyche will just expand just that little bit. And that's what you need to notice. You need to notice those small expansions in the psyche. And then when we notice those small expansions, those small expansions would turn into bigger expansions, and so on and so forth. I think a very good metaphor for meditation is often the potter. The potter sits at the potter's wheel, and they just make very, very small movements. And those small movements in meditation often result in quite dramatic differences in the shape of the pottery that is then made. And they're very, very sensitive to those differences and those movements. So we have to become sensitive to small movements in our psyche and in our meditation. And when we notice those small movements, they tend to grow and develop in a dynamic. Yeah, they gain momentum. So looking at the small effects in our meditation as well. Yeah, but good question. Yeah.
We get Louise asking how we can manage the gripping at a subconscious level outside of meditation in particular.
Yeah, really good question, Louise. I think, so Louise was asking, how can we manage the gripping, particularly outside of meditation? I think what's really good to do, Louise, outside of meditation is learn what it is that relaxes us. Get to learn how our mind works. Today, for example, I went for a run, and I noticed that when I run, I can get much more relaxed. If I don't get to exercise, I get very, very tense. I also know the things that relax me are reading, catching up with a friend. I know the things that I can go to that relax me, and I look to cultivate those hobbies as well that I know are good for me. So I know, say for example, that going to a gallery, we can't do it at the moment, but say for example, exercising relaxes me. So it's a hobby that I can look to sustain and build. So I think it's really, really good to notice what it is that relaxes us and make sure that we do it. Make sure that we put the time aside each day to be able to do that. Okay, folks, well, that's all the time that we have for those questions. So what I'll do now is we'll have a very short meditation just to end, so you can begin to set yourselves up in the meditation posture again. And then I'll say just a little brief another message before we end. So again, just coming back into a sense of connection with the body. So noticing a sense of stability with the floor. And noticing where we'll have started to grip again, quite unconsciously. And just seeing, can we relax that? So noticing any areas of the body where we've started to hold. Maybe noticing as well any grasping at the next thing that we're going to be doing. Just seeing, can you relax that? And we can start to bring our awareness onto the breath. So just noticing the sensations of the breath. And then when we're ready, coming out of meditation and bringing the practice to a close. Okay, folks, well, thank you so much for this evening. It's fantastic to have you here. Just to say a little bit about what the Centre is really hoping for in this lockdown. What's been so important to the Centre is that we continue to be able to reach out to everybody, offer a vision of community and a vision of Sangha. And part of that vision for community for us is a vision of a generosity culture. So a generosity culture where we don't charge anybody for the Dharma, where anybody that wants to come in for our classes can do so for free. All our teachers here, for example, volunteer their time for free to teach. And it's very, very important for us that the London Buddhist Centre is a home for anybody, irrespective of means. Now, part of that is that we're looking to move more towards a generosity culture where we give the Dharma for free wherever we can, and then wherever people are able to, wherever you're able to, we deeply appreciate the generosity that you have in donating to the Centre, donating in these online classes, for example. So we'll get a link that will come up in the comment thread now where you can go to if you would like to donate. And of course, we appreciate any donation that we get, But what's really very, very useful for the centre here is if you do a monthly donation. So I'd ask if you're within the means and you're able to do so, £50 a month to the centre would go extremely far in helping us to do what we do here, to continue to sort of reach out and provide the message of the Dharma, the message of community and friendship that's so important to us here at the centre. So if you're able to do that, it's massively appreciated. But of course, we appreciate anything that you're able to give. So thank you very much. So I'll wrap up now, and just to say, Maitreya Bandhu will be here in 15 minutes with us to do the full moon puja. So do get yourself a cup of tea, a glass of water, and come back for that. It's going to be a ritual, a full moon ritual here. So until next time, hope to see you again very soon, and we'll leave it at that. So take care.